Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between the former Vice President Harris versus the current Vice President Vance. So these two are both potential 2028 primary victors. It's generally more likely that Vance will be the Republican nominee for 2028 president versus Harris probably won't, but she's been floated as a possible contender. So I thought it would be interesting to do a prediction between these two. So Harris, of course, lost in the 2024 presidential election to Trump. It was a pretty good election. It was a really good election for Republicans. So I do think that now is generally a more favorable environment for Democrats than 2024 was in November. So I think I'll keep that in mind. But we'll be going through each of these swing states, be characterizing them. I'll start out in the state of Nevada. In Nevada, I think that this would end up going back into the Democratic Party's column. The state generally votes for Democrats on the presidential level. It did, of course, vote for Trump in 2024, and they do have a Republican governor on the state level, obviously. So there is definitely potential that Republicans can do well in Nevada. I don't think at the moment that would be the results of an election in Nevada. If the election were to be held today, it would probably be in the Democratic Party's column. But nonetheless, definitely a competitive state that we'll have to keep our eyes on for future elections, see which way it ends up shifting. And then we get to another key Southwest state, the only other one, that being the state of Arizona. In Arizona, I think this is probably J.D. Vance's one of his better chances of winning a swing state. So I'm going to put the state of Arizona into Vance's column. And that brings us to the Southeast. So I do think in Georgia, I'm going to put the state of Georgia into the Democratic Party's column. This state has been had some elections for Democrats recently in the last couple of months in 2025 that performed quite well for Democrats. I think that right now the national environment would probably result in a Democratic victory in the state of Georgia. Really, any of these swing states could flip the other way, so it's hard to say. This is just a fun little prediction. So for now, I'm going to put the state of Georgia into the Democratic Party's column. And I accidentally skipped the little district here in Omaha, in Nebraska. So I already characterized it, though. That is going to be in the tilt blue column. Even Harris was even able to win this competitive district in 2024 by, I don't remember the exact margin. I think it was like 3 to 5 points, or 3 points or so. So I think it would be fairly easy for her to win this district again if she were to be the Democratic contender again in 2028. Then we get to the state of North Carolina. In North Carolina, I feel pretty good about putting this into the Republican Party's column. The state has been known to elect Democrats. There is going to be an interesting Senate election in North Carolina in 2026 during the midterms that will give us an idea of, well, maybe not a complete idea, but give us an indication on if Democrats have a shot at winning on the presidential level. So that will be an interesting race to watch. There's also, of course, the Senate election in Georgia, and at the moment, both of those are looking favorable for the Democrats. Definitely things could change, but for now, I'm going to go with a split prediction for the Southeast, with Harris taking the state of Georgia and Vance taking the state of North Carolina. And then we get to these three Rust Belt states. I do feel fairly confident in being able to put Wisconsin into the Democratic Party's column. So with that, that's 258 to 246. And then we have these two other swing states that will really determine the presidency. Right now, it is fairly close. I have gone back and forth. I do think that Vance probably has more Rust Belt appeal than Harris does, just since she is, of course, from California and he is from Ohio as a senator, and then a couple other states in that general area before then. But so I do think that the Rust Belt would probably end up voting together, just even though Vance has some more Democratic or some more Rust Belt appeal. than Harris does, but I just think at the moment the national environment is looking pretty good for Democrats. So I think it would, and generally the Rust Belt votes together. If I were to split them up, I do think Wisconsin is probably Harris's best chance. That was the narrowest of the Rust Belt states in 2024, so that is probably her best chance. And then we get to Michigan and Pennsylvania. I think that would be Republicans' best chance would probably be in Michigan or Pennsylvania. But I do think at the moment, if I were to predict it, that the three Rust Belt states would vote together. So that is going to be 292 to 246, a victory for Harris. I've gone back and forth on these Rust Belt states. Really, they are going to be the key determinants of who wins the presidency, but nonetheless, still an interesting prediction. Feel free to agree or disagree in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.